Hello and welcome to the second video that we're going to record for learning coin. Let me see. In the first video we went through some of the basic commands and learnt how to do those. In this video we're going to take it to the next level and add in the events, the special abilities and passing to see how it's going to work. Now what I was going to do, I was going to continue from the last video and do the next cards maybe up to the first winter, but what I've decided to do is to reset the scenario back to the beginning. That way, using exactly the same cards from the top of the deck, I think it will be interesting to see the difference when playing the exact same game just using commands and limited commands versus playing the first 6 cards using everything the game has to offer. Hopefully there'll be a big difference, because the last video the poor Belgic tribes were really getting a bad deal, being second on the initiative all the time, not being able to pass, take advantage of the next card. And they really struggled. So I think it will be interesting to see how these 6 cards play out a second time round. And again, please don't expect me to make the right moves. I still don't know what I'm doing whatsoever. I haven't had much time to look at this since I made the last video. So I will be playing like a noob. But that's okay. Right then, without further ado, let's move on to the first cards. So like in the last game that we played, the first card is Druids, and the second card will be Masked Gallic Archers. With this setup as it is, I'm going to read to you the cards that I flipped over so that you get an idea of what the events might be, even if I don't play them. The first card that I flipped over, Druids. The event is called Arbiters of Celtic Society. I can select 1 to 3 Gallic factions in the initiative order above. Each executes a free limited command that may add a free special ability, and then you become eligible after the card. Now, in the initiative order, we've got the ARDUENNA going first, then the ARDUENNA, then the Belgic tribes, and then the Romans. So that might be a good thing for the ARDUENNA to consider. When you look at the next card, Masked Gallic Archers, there are 2 events. It's a capability one. When you have a capability card, there are basically 2 abilities which you can stick with and keep throughout the battle, and usually the top version is more beneficial for the Romans or the ARDUENNA, and the lower version is for the Belgics and the ARDUENNA. This card, the top version, Reliance on Light Arms. ARDUENNA battle, each region inflicts 1 fewer defender loss before any halving. And the opposite side of the coin, the opposite side, an enormous number. At start of battles with 6 or more ARDUENNA warbands, the other side must first absorb 1 extra loss. So that sounds like something with our ARDUENNA stacked up like that they might like to take advantage of. So how will we go about doing this? So the ARDUENNA, I think, are looking at that and thinking maybe we don't want to play this Druids card. We can select ourselves for a free limited command and a free special ability, but do we really want to give the Belgic tribes and the ARDUENNA that as well? I don't think so. And even by doing so, we're going to take that as an event if we took it. So we would get to execute a free limited command and then a free special ability, and then become eligible again. However, the second faction to play would then be able to do the same thing anyway with a second faction command and a special ability, so we don't really want to offer that up. In the same way, I don't think we want the ARDUENNA to have it, because they can then become eligible again for the next card. So I think the only option for us right now with the ARDUENNA is to play a first faction command only with no special ability, similar to what we were doing in the last game. So I'm choosing that simply because I don't want the ARDUENNA to be able to take advantage of that event and then become eligible again to take advantage of the event of masked Gallic archers. So when we're thinking about what the ARDUENNA are going to do, we go back to our chart and we can rally, march, raid or battle. Now there's no special ability allowed here, so what shall we do? We've got a lot of forces there. We need to start getting more and more of the allied tribes off the map. We need to get rid of these green allied tribes because they are rather numerous. They've got 10 on board. Now that also will fulfill one part of the ARDUENNA victory condition, which is to have 8 or more allied tribes. Maybe 9 or more, sorry, 9 or more allied tribes exceeds 8. So 9 or more allied tribes plus the off-map legions in here, the ARDUENNA wins. So we need to bring them down whilst bringing us up, and that will bring us towards victory. So I'm going to issue a march command with the idea that in the future rounds we might be able to suborn some areas. So I'm going to put a march order into here. This area over here looks quite weak. It's currently ARDUENNA controlled, but there's only one warband and 2 settlements, so it seems like a good place to try to start influencing them against us. Where else should I go? This looks scary, don't really want to mess with that. I think that's all I'm going to do. I'm just going to move some forces out from there. It will keep our resource expenditure down as well, so it's only going to be down to 14. And I think we'll move in... Let's move in half our forces, 3. By doing so, we will remove control in this area and it will become no control. We paid our resources, we moved out. That will end the ARDUENNA turn. Sorry, not the ARDUENNA, the ARDUENNA turn. So now we're looking at the next faction, which are the ARDUENNA. So do we want to execute a second faction limited command? Maybe not. I really like this masked Gallic archers event, so I'm hoping that I'll be able to get this capability next turn. Our troops are already massed and ready for battle, so having this extra loss at the beginning is going to be a good capability for us. So in order to try and be able to pick that up, we need to pass on this turn. So when we pass, we move our token down into the pass section and you remain eligible for the next turn. If you're a Gaul, you'll receive 1 resource, so our ARDUENNA resources will go up to 21. If you're a Roman, you'd receive 2 resources. So they're out of eligibility for this card. So now we look and we see that after the ARDUENNA, it will be the Belgic tribes who get to go next. Now they could either pass or they could take a second faction limited command. Poor Belgics again, they're stuck with this. They're stuck with the second faction limited command again. Is it too early in the game to be passing? Well, if they pass and the Romans pass, they won't even get to act on the next card anyway. So they'll be wasting a lot of time. They'll have wasted 2 whole cards, so we're not going to do that. We are going to take the second faction limited command. Sorry, I moved that up, shouldn't I? The second faction limited command for the Belgic tribes. Now we've been beaten back up there. The Romans have come in and crushed us, so we're in kind of a rebuilding phase. So I figure a rally is the best way to go. And the best place to rally, well, it's going to be cheapest in Belgica, because outside of Belgica is this yellow area up here. Outside of this area it will cost us 2, whereas inside that area it'll only cost us 1. Do we want to get warbands? I think we've got a lot of warbands out there that we need to get. Now, our leader Ambiorix does not help us rally troops like the Arverni one for Vercingetorix. So we are going to I think we're going to begin by rallying just in this area. Maybe I did this last time, but we've got control in this area, so we can put in another allied tribe on there. That will help us rally more efficiently in the next rounds. So we pay our cost, that's going to be 1 resource. We've taken Menapi, so we go up from 5 to 6. And the Romans have lost this subdued trade in Menapi, so they will go down 1 in their victory point score to 11. Then that will end the first turn. The 2 factions that took actions move into ineligible. My dogs are gone crazy. And the Arverni will become eligible again. So now what we have to do is flip the next card. Mass Gallic archers will become there, and Lucterius will be the next card as it was last time. Next card is Massed Gallic archers. And the capability thing I didn't really mention properly before. There are different types of events. Sometimes there are 2 events that you can choose from. One is usually for the Aeduan Romans, and one is usually for the Arverni and the Belgic tribes. There are also double events which are called capability events. Usually an event, when you play it, that's it. It happens one time and then it's finished. But the capability events, you put them onto your force track, and you can use this for the rest of the entire game. So we talked about the capability that the Arverni passed to pick up on Mass Gallic archers. Lucterius, the next card, has 2 events, one shaded, one unshaded, but they aren't a capability, so they'll only happen once. The unshaded version, thrust at Narbo checked. Either remove up to 6 Arverni warbands within 1 region of Provincia, or place up to 5 auxilia in Provincia. So the Romans can squash some of these guys, or they can increase their auxilia in Provincia. The shaded version is called Daring Cadurcan. If Arverni's successor on map or available, Arverni place him anywhere, symbol up, as if Vercingetorix. So were Vercingetorix to have been killed and his successor come onto the board. So when the Vercingetorix or Ambiorix are killed, they will become this way up, and they won't have the symbol on top. They're not as strong. They're a successor to the main characters. However, if that was the case, you'd be able to flip him up and place him somewhere, and Vercingetorix would rise again. But we don't need to worry about that. It doesn't help us. The Romans might like to take a look at that event. But back to this turn. We've decided before we passed, specifically so that these Arverni could play the event. They will then take this capability card alongside a purple capability counter, which will show as shaded, and they will place that up there on their force track to remind us that they have that ability. So now the Romans have a choice. They could either pass to try to pick up this event first. If they did so, there would be no more eligible factions, so there would be no second action on that card. These guys would come back and there would be 3 eligible factions next turn. However, I don't want to keep passing because I want to see how their special abilities work as well. So what I'm going to do is take advantage of the fact that the Arverni played the first faction event, and that will give us a second faction command which may add a special ability. Now if we just recap, the Romans have Recruit, March, Seize and Battle as their commands, and their special abilities are Build, Scout and Besiege. Now I don't really think there's much to besiege right now. We've got enough force in the areas where we are to destroy the allied tribes without besieging, just on pure numbers of legions up there. However, one thing I do think is that this guy, Caesar, is a legend. This is a very strong piece, I think. So, noisy dogs. I think we need to get Caesar up into that mess of destruction up there and get some fighting on. So we're going to issue a march order. We're going to issue a march order here. We're gonna, sorry, I moved that and I should have returned it. We're gonna issue a march order there. We are going to, do we want to march anywhere else? With march we are able to build or scout. A build allows us to add a fort and subdue or ally with tribes. So I mean, we could try to subdue. We could try to subdue up here and in here to remove the tribes. I think it might get expensive. Or we could scout. I like the idea of building. So we're going to march with Caesar, and we're also going to give a subdue order. And we're going to subdue probably in this region and this region. Now for us to be able to do this, we either have to have a Roman ally or a supply line with Romans, and we also have to be within one of Caesar or with his successor. So we're going to activate the march first. Now Caesar's the man, because he's so hardcore. He can actually move all the way up three zones if he needs to. And he can take these guys with him. And he can drop guys off on the way. Now as we pass through, what's this region? Sequani region. There are actually 3 warbands in there who could do some damage to us. Because as you walk through, the Celtic tribes can attack you while you're going through. However, we're going to ally with the Aedui in the same way that we were in the last game. And because of that, shut the window. Because of that, the Aedui are not going to attack, and these guys are just not going to bother. So then these are going to continue into this region. And I think we're going to stop in this region for now. The reason being, all of our area are within one of Caesar there. So we're going to stop and wait and see what happens. So that will finish the march. Now that's going to cost us 2 resources to march because the Romans are a little bit expensive, but it only originated from one region. So that will bring us down to 18. Then with our build action, we can either add forts and subdue or ally with tribes. So it costs us 2 resources per fort or ally placed or removed. For each region you can place a fort and or, once Roman control and, if not selected for seas, place 1 Roman or remove 1 non-Roman ally. Well, we've got control in here and in here. We already have a fort here, so I don't think we need to do that. So what I'm thinking to do is to remove 1 ally from here, which will be the ARDUENNA one, because they're our main enemy and we need to bring down the number of allied tribes they have. So we'll do that one. We already have a fort, so I don't think we need to build a fort in there. We've got 2 forts left. Over here I think we'll probably subdue this, because we do have Roman control. That will be another 2 points. So we'll take them off. 1 in there and 1 in there. Poor Belgics. And then I believe we may pay another 2 to build a fort in this Belovaci region. And that will be that. And that will cost us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more. So we're down to 12. Now I think that was a good play. The Romans have beefed up, they've got forts in all of their resources. What we have done is we have left ourselves slightly open to being, you know, cut off from supply, but it's very early in the turn and winter is a long way away, so if we need to we can punch our way back down through there. So that will end that. These guys will flip back to eligible, and the Romans and the ARDUENNA will move up into ineligible. Then we'll turn over our next card. LUCTERIUS becomes the main one, and the next card is ARDUENNA. Right then, the next card. Now before I move into that, did anybody notice the error I made in that last turn? It wasn't so much an error as overlooking to do something, and that was to move the victory counters after I'd done the build action special ability. Now you don't have to worry about that so much, because the victory counters are just a representation of what's happening on the board, so you can always catch it back up and alter the victory conditions at any time. In fact, it's probably best to do it at each winter when you check for victory at the beginning of winter, just to make sure you've got them all in the right place. And mostly they're easy to do. The most difficult one I think is the Belgics, but it's not that difficult. So the ADUI, they're simple. You just look at the other people's boards and see how many citadels they've got out. These have got 9 out, so this one's going to be at 8+. That's in the right place. The ARDUENNA are super simple. How many Roman legions are off the board? Well, we can currently see there's 2 off, so it's on 2. That's fine. The Romans have to change it depending on the number of subdued tribes and allied Roman tribes, so you can just count them up. So over here we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. There's another one in there, 12. Maybe 12, possibly 13. I think it should be on 13, so I've probably missed counting one somewhere. We'll do it again. 1 in Britannia, okay. In Belgica, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 subdued and a Roman allied tribe. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 total. In Germania, 1, 7. Provincia, 1, 8. Then the main Celtic section, we've got 1 here, so 9. 1 here, 10. 1 here, 11. 1 here, 12. And 1 here, 13. Yeah, so it should be on 13. Now the Belgians lost a couple here, or they lost 1 rather. So we can see the Belgics are a little more difficult. First you count up how many allies they have. This is how I do it anyway. Currently they've got 2 allies. And then you check out the Belgic control. Now I made a mistake, I think, when I was first doing this, because the controls have got a little number above it. And that's the number you would add, but you would minus for the number of subdued tribes in there. Now currently the Belgians only have control in this region and this region. So that would give us a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we know we now have to move this down by 1. Okay, let's move on. I didn't do that on purpose, by the way. It was just a mistake. I filmed these turn by turn, and I finished the last turn. My dogs were being noisy, so I took them out for a walk, and while I was walking them, it came to me, you didn't move the victory counters. So hopefully some of you were shouting at the screen, saying, move the victory counters. Anyway, let's move on. The next card is ARDUENNA. This only has 1 event to choose from. It's called Gaul's Great Forest. Romans or a Gallic faction may free march into either or both the Nervi or Treveri regions, then execute a free command, accept march in one or both, then flip all friendly pieces there to hidden. Right, so we're looking at the Nervi region is up here, and the Treveri region is down here. Now I don't think we really want to get too stuck in up there. So I don't think we're going to try and play for that. So now we go back to LUCTERIUS. The ARDUENNA first, and the Belgics will come in second. Now I don't think this is a very good event for the Belgics. So I think we will do a first faction command and a special ability. This means that the Belgics can just do, poor Belgics, yet again, all they can do will be either play the event, which is pretty useless for them, or they will end up with a limited command. So what can we do with the ARDUENNA? So we're going to be able to play a command and a special ability in the regions that we wish. Well, I want to try out this suborn. It looks like the bread and butter. So to suborn, we can do it either with a rally, a march, or a raid. We can't do a battle. I don't think we want to battle that much anyway. And you can only do it in one region. Well, the region I think that we'll probably be focusing on is this Sequani region, which has the Arverni allied tribes in there. If we can bump them off, this will then bring us into control. So what do we want to do? Do we want to rally, march, or raid? I don't think we really want to march anywhere just now. So why not try to raid? Sounds good to me. So what we'll do is we'll raid. I think we're going to raid. It doesn't cost any resources. We'll raid in here. We'll raid in here. We'll raid in here. And we may as well raid in here. Now to do this raid, we either gain resources for us or steal resources from somebody else in the region. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip these guys over, starting here, and we'll do 1, 2, that gets us 1 resource, that will get us 2 resources. Move them up, bomb, bomb. That's finished. I'm going to do the suborn in this region, so I'll put the counter there just to remind me. Now I'm going to stop the raiding right now and do the suborn first, because the number of hidden bands, war bands, is important for the suborn, because you still need 1, and raiding will flip them up. So what I'm going to do is do the suborn now. In the region over here, we can buy allegiance or neutrality. So what we have to do is pay 2 resources per ally and 1 per other piece. So you can place and or remove up to 3 pieces total. And only 1 may be an allied tribe. The others must be warbands. So we can do 3 things. So we'll flip up, we've got a hidden guy there, so we don't have to flip him up. We're going to remove the Sequani Arverni allied tribe, and that will take them to 9. That will cost us 2 resources, and then we can remove. So let's remove another one. That will cost us another resource, and then we can place. So why not place in one of our warbands as well? So that gets us to 4 pieces in there. Now I think I'm doing this right. That's going to cost us 2, 3, 4. So we'll move down 4 to 12. And that will be the special action finished. But now we've got 4 warbands in there, which means that if we raid, we will be able to flip up 4 and gain 2 instead of being able to flip up 2 and gain 1. But before we do that, let's turn this into ADUI control, as we do now have control in there. Let's also increase the subdued tribes for the Romans, so they're up to 14. And now we're going to raid in this zone. So we'll flip over 1, 2, 3, 4. And we will gain 2 resources, 1, 2. In this region, same thing. We will flip over 1, 2, 3, 4, and gain 2 more resources in here. 1, 2. In this region we can only flip over 2 because there's 3 and it requires 2 to gain 1. So we will gain 1 more resource, takes us up to 17, and we managed to get rid of this green one and reduce that down to there. Now this region looks nice. I don't think unless the Arverni get through a lot to get up here, they're not going to do much. So we can try and take over that region for the ADUI. So that will be theirs. I think I've done that right. It's the first time I've ever suborned anything, so I may have made mistakes, but if I did, I apologize. But it'll be okay. We'll survive. The game will continue. Now the poor Belgians, again, do we want to do a second faction event? No, we don't want that event. Do we want to do a limited command? These limited commands are crippling us. So when we look at the ARDUENNA card, the Belgics are going to be first to act on that card. So we're going to pass. We want to get the initiative. We don't want to be going second all the time. The Belgians are in a really bad spot anyway. They've been crushed by the Romans. That's the scenario history. This has taken place after the Arverni are already mobilized for war and the Belgians have been beaten back. So we're going to pass. We're also the lowest in resources, so that's going to gain us a resource up to 10. And then, since there are no more eligible factions, this card is now finished. We move the ineligibles back into eligible, and the people who took actions go into here. So now you can see there are 3 in this section, but only 1 in this section. Now what that means is that only 2 of these 3 are going to be able to take actions on the next card. So then we move this one down, and we flip over the next card, which is going to be RHENUS Bridge. Okay, card number 4, I think. Is it 4? No, card number 3. ARDUENNA. So we looked at that one before, and it was the marching into Nervi or Trevari regions. The next card we flipped, RHENUS Bridge, is a double event. The top event, or the unshaded version, is punitive expedition. Romans may remove all Germans from one Germania region under or adjacent to Roman control. The shaded version, bogged down. If a legion is within one region of Germania, Romans -6 resources and ineligible through the next card. That seems quite strong to screw the Romans over. Right, let's think about this card. ARDUENNA. It actually has quite a good event. It allows us to march and then execute a free command in one or both of the places that we march into. So we could march in and we could rally, we could raid, we could battle. Shall we get a free march and battle just to get back into Belgica? Yeah, that's what we're going to do. We're going to take the event. The Belgians are going to get a free march. Firstly, we're going to march all of these guys in here, and we're going to march Ambiorix into here. If we march Ambiorix in, we are going to lose Belgic control up in that Germanic region. But I think it's worth doing just to try and force the Romans out of this area. We want to take back Belgica so we can start rallying and building up our forces again, and this is probably a good way to do it. So actually, given that, if we're going to lose Belgian control up there anyway, we may as well just move the whole crew in and flip this to German control, because we don't mind if the Germans control that area. So now we've got all of those guys in there, we can perform our second free command, which cannot be a march. So we're going to battle, and we're going to smash those Romans. The Germans are okay. This is, by the way, now flipped to Belgic control. So we'll smash the Romans. They have a fort. They could try to retreat, which might save them if the fort rolls well, because we have Ambiorix. So we're going to do damage of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 whopping damage in there, which is going to crush whatever they've had. The forts only die on a 4, 5, or 6 because we're not ambushing. And it allows them to retreat. If we were ambushing, they wouldn't be able to retreat. They're Romans. I think they're going to retreat. They're going to try to retreat, which means the fort will take losses first. So the forts are only removed on a roll of... Let's see the battle flow chart. Declare retreat, yes. Defender takes half losses. Allies, forts and citadels first. So we've got a total of, what was it, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So they're only going to take 5. And the forts will be first. So a fort will take losses you remove it on a 1, 2 or 3. So we've got 5 dice. So it's removed straight away. That's going to die. They're going to die. And we're going to go Rawr, Ambiorix for the win. And he's taking control back of this region. Well, like I said, this region is worth 2 for Belgic control. However, there is a dispersed gathering marker in there which will -1 from this value. So what's actually going to happen is we're going to lose 1 because we lost control up here. We're going to gain 1 because we got control here, but we only gain 1, not 2. So our counter's not actually going to move. We're still left with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So even though we came in and we got rid of the Romans and one of their forts, we didn't actually gain any extra, victory points. And the Belgic victory is up at 16, so they really are in a bad way. I guess we need to start rallying and getting our allied tribes up from now on. Which leaves the Romans. The Romans can either play a second faction command or they can pass. Now, why would they pass? The only reason I can think of passing is they're first on the RHENUS Bridge card. The RHENUS Bridge card has a bad event for them, because they will lose 6 resources and become ineligible through the next card, so they will stay ineligible for a long time. At this point, it might be worth mentioning that there is a certain amount of politics and diplomacy which you can do. You can offer resources to other people to get them to help you. Now, the Romans definitely don't want the Arverni to choose that event. So the Belgics are out of contention because they're going to be ineligible on the RHENUS Bridge card. But the ARDUENNA and the Arverni will be eligible if the Romans play their second faction command here. So, as we look down the initiative order, the ARDUENNA will go before the Arverni. So now we might flex our diplomatic muscles and say to the ARDUENNA, look, we don't want this event to happen. We're relying on you to help us out. We'll give you gold, we'll give you something in return for you stopping the Arverni from using this event. So how can they stop the Arverni from using the event? Either by playing the event themselves or by doing just a command only, which will prohibit the Arverni from taking that event. So let's just say for fun, the ARDUENNA agree and they say, okay, we will do that so long as you don't get rid of any of our forts, you don't besiege or build and remove any of our allied citadels in this area, in the Mandibui region. We don't need money so much, so you know, we'll just have that. We want you to get rid of the greens in here and keep us safe from the green attack, and then we will stop the Arverni from getting that event. The Romans say, yeah, that's great, done deal, and then they move in for their second faction command, which they may add a special ability. Now, whether they actually do what they promised the ARDUENNA, that's up to the Romans, but we'll say they're nice and they're going to do it this turn. So they wanted them to move these guys out, so the Romans are probably going to have to issue a battle order to help them out. But what else are they going to do with their battle? Either a build, a scout, or a besiege. Well, they've promised they won't destroy any of the ARDUENNA allies, so they're not going to besiege. I think it's time to do some scouting. So we're going to issue a battle order, and we're going to battle in this region. We're going to battle in this region, and we're going to battle in this region. And we're also going to issue a scout order. So now that Caesar's here, all of these can do a scout order. Now, a scouting order allows you to move your auxilia and then flip up enemy warbands to scout them, which reduces their ability to do certain things. But before we do the special ability, we probably want to do the attacking, because when you move the no, that doesn't work like that. But we want to do the attacking before. No, we'll scout first, I think. We're going to scout in this region because we're very strong here and we want to start flipping up some of these warbands. It's a risky play, but we'll do it. And we'll also scout in this region because we're very strong. So we'll scout first. So we'll move these 2 auxilia into this region here. I'm not sure that's how it works actually. Maybe they have to be within one region of Caesar when they flip. Move any auxilia to adjacent regions, not into or out of Britannia, within one region of Caesar, or, with his successor, flip to revealed. So yeah, they couldn't do that. So we're not actually going to issue that scout order in here. Instead, we're going to issue it in only in that region. I'm probably playing very badly here, but I'm getting confused with the rules. So we'll send in a couple of these guys into here, maybe 4. Why not? Sounds fun. And then they will flip 1, 2, 3, 4, and that will allow us to reveal 8 of these Belgics. Yes, Belgics. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I can count 2, 8. 3. Now all of these are flipped, but they're also going to be scouted, so we put this little scouted marker on them to show that they've been scouted. It makes them more difficult to hide themselves again. So that's that. So then we'll move on to the battle. We'll start in this big region. It's going to cost us 2 resources, so down we go, 1, 2. We're spending our money quite a lot. Well, hopefully the ADUI will help us out. And we're going to crush this poor little dude. He can't escape, so he's not going to retreat. He's just going to die. These guys will have to flip up because they fought and didn't get a retreat. Next we'll do the battle in this region. I'm pretty sure I put a pawn in there, but I must have took it out. Over here we've got a huge amount. We're going to attack the RHENUS because we've made a kind of pact with the ADUI. We've got 2, 4, 6, 8 legions and 2 auxilia for a total of 9. Even if they retreat, we're still going to do 4 if they retreat, and it's still going to wipe them out. So again, they're not going to retreat. They're just going to take the hit, and that will force us to flip these up. And then in this region, again, we've got 1, 2. The Belgics, the Germans never retreat, but they're going to get massacred pretty badly. And we'll flip these up. I'll pay for these as I finish this, so that's going to be another 4. So we go from 10 down to 6. So we're running a bit light on resources. But we smashed some guys, and that's always fun. End of the turn, ADUI go back. These guys move into here. I don't think control changed. Nothing in the victory conditions changed. So we then play the RHENUS bridge card here and flip over the GALLIA TOGATA card. Card number 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. RHENUS bridge. Okay, we know what RHENUS bridge does, and so let's look at the GALLIA TOGATA card. This again is a double event, the unshaded version, strategic rear. Place GALLIA TOGATA marker and 3 auxilia in Cisalpina. It is a supply line region where only Romans may stack. March out costs 0, and each recruit places 2 auxilia. So that's kind of, it's not in play at the moment, Cisalpina, but we can bring it into play by playing that event. The other one, Cisalpinus, requires garrison. Unless Senate in adulation, Romans remove 1 legion to track and 2 auxilia to available. Wow. That sounds nice. But we're up with RHENUS Bridge, what are the ARDUENNA going to do? They don't really want to remove all the Germans from one region to help the Romans get more points. So they're going to just play the first faction command only and stop the ARDUENNA from playing that event. So what are they going to do this time? Well, I think we probably have a lot of revealed warbands and we want to get them back into a hidden state. So we're probably going to issue a march. It's one per region. We could do 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's do a march in here, in here, in here, and in here. So let's just do some shuffling. We'll march these guys into here, and these guys into here, these guys into here, and these guys into here. So we just did some shuffling. And because of those shuffles, we can flip them to hidden. So now our entire, no, I would send that guy in there as well. Our entire ARDUENNA armies are all hidden again, and they can do hidden-y things like suborn and raid and that kind of thing. There we go. Dun, dun. That was a quick one. Dun, dun. And 4 resources down to 13. Now the ARDUENNA have the choice. Do we don't have initiative if we do pass, because the Romans will go first. So I think we're just gonna do a limited command and rally some troops. We had a bit of damage. I think we'll rally in the Carnutes region here. It's going to cost us 1 resource. Then we will get 1 resource per region, 2 if devastated. For each region, if ARDUENNA control. So the good thing again is we've got Vercingetorix, so we can do a double whammy here. We can place a citadel or ally and we can gain war bands. So we'll upgrade Carnutes from an allied tribe to a citadel, and we will gain the war bands for, in here we have 2, 3, plus 1 because they are ARDUENNA, gives us a total of 4 extra war bands to come in. So we can start marching on other areas, I think, soon with this huge war band, and with our special card we'll inflict more losses and we'll start to smash through the Romans and the ARDUENNA. That's their limited command done. That was a quick turn. Romans and Belgics become eligible. Ineligibility for the ARDUENNA and ARDUENNA. GALLIA TOGATA becomes our main card, number 5, and baggage trains becomes our number 6 card. Next turn, so the baggage trains card. This is another capability card. The unshaded capability says well stocked. Take this card and place it at your forces display. Your march costs 0 resources. That seems like a good card to have early game, because you keep that for the entire game, and that can really help with your maneuverability. The shaded capability is slow wagons. Take this card. Your raids may use 3 warbands per region and steal resources despite citadels or forts. So yeah, you either the Romans maybe can pick up some extra movement, and the Belgic and ARDUENNA can pick up some extra resources through raiding if they take that capability. The Romans don't care about that so much. We're first up on this card. I think we aren't so worried about... Are we worried about the event? Unless Senate in adulation, Romans remove 1 legion to track and 2 auxilia to available. So So we might lose a couple of guys if we let them do that. But what are we going to do? I think we're looking to I think we probably want to consolidate our forces. Yeah, it's time to march. The Romans are going to march. So we're going to do a special ability one. We're going to march, and we're also going to scout. So we're going to give a march order in this region, and in this region, and we're going to march. We're going to start by marching. That's going to cost us a lot. How much do we have? Well, not so much. We only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 left. That would cost us all our resources, and we're still early in game. Whoa. Screw it. Let's do it. I don't know what the effect of that is going to be long term because we're only going to play up to 6 cards, but let's just do it anyway. We can trade with the ADUI for some extra funds later. Right then. Pay the 6. Bang. We want to move these 2 into here. You flip them, then move them. That way we can reveal some of these damned Arverni monstrosities and scout them. Let's bring Caesar and his boys into this region, ready to do battle with that giant green force there. Let's get it on. Yeah, into here. They're all flipped now. We're going to bring these guys out of Belgica. I'm not sure if they can attack us or not. I don't know whether you have to march through or just march out of. I could check that if we want to, but I'm not sure what you have to do. Marching out of an area. What would it be called, do you think? It will be under the Roman March, I imagine. The Roman March. Harassment. If any part of a group both enters and then leaves a region, any factions with enough... No, so they didn't enter and leave, so that's okay. So there's no harassment there. Now we'll do the scout. So we can scout in here, and we can scout in here. So what we're going to do is, we're going to march in 2 of these into here, as you're allowed to move the auxilia with a march with a scout, and then you can flip them to reveal enemy warbands. So we'll flip those. We'll just flip 4. That's what we'll do. We'll leave 2 in there just for fun, and we'll flip 4, and that will mean we can flip up 8 of these green warbands, and they will count as having been scouted. Which will keep them hidden. So my thinking would be, if they're going to move in to attack us in the near future, these guys would not then flip back to hidden, which means it would be more difficult for them to do an ambush. I don't know if it's impossible or not. That's something that I would work out if I was playing really, but I don't want to spend too much time to do it. So that is what is possible, that they would flip back, and they wouldn't flip back and they wouldn't be able to ambush, which is an advantage. Alright, that will do that. So we'll remove these grey special ability pawns, and then we'll see what the Belgics want to do. Now they can either play the event or do a limited command. Well, a limited command again. Do we want to? A limited command would basically be a march. We'd march Amberix from here into here, trying to regain control of Belgica. If we play the event, we would remove a legion and 2 auxilia from the board. That would help the ARDUENNA. I think we have to let the ARDUENNA do what the ARDUENNA are going to do. At the moment we need to focus on regaining control of Belgica and starting to rally up some troops. So we're just going to give a limited march up here. There's going to cost us 1. We're going to march some of these guys down. We want to take control of this region. Currently there are 1, 2, 3, 4 in there. Let's march these guys down. We want to maintain control in that area, so should we send Ambiorix in there with him? Yeah, why not? Why not? Now, because these guys were scouted, they don't flip. These guys remain scouted, they didn't move. But these guys here, they don't flip over, so they're still revealed, which is... it's awkward for things like raid and... what else? Raid and... rampage or ambush. So yeah, it becomes difficult. That will then flip this to Belgic control. Yay! That gives us a full-on 3 extra points, and that will shoot us up 1, 2, 3 to 8. There are no dispersed gathering markers in there, so there's no minuses to that total. That flips us up nicely. That was a nice move. Okay, flip these guys down, flip these guys up, and move on to our final card, baggage trains. The one after that will be migration. Alright, the migration card. That's a double event. Drang nach Westen. Execute a Germanic rally and march in from up to 2 regions each. And the shaded version, new pastures, however you pronounce it. A Gallic faction moves its warbands and leader as desired to a region where no control and places an ally there. We're not going to think about that too much. What we are going to do is play the ARDUENNA. They're not going to bother with the baggage trains event. We're going to play the first faction command and special ability. The reason we're going to do that is I want to see what trade does. The Romans are in trouble financially. They're going to call on their ARDUENNA allies to help gain some money. Let's do it. So we're probably going to do a... Can you do a raid trade? Yeah, you can do a raid trade. We'll do a raid trade. Let's get some gold. So we're going to raid here, 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 and here. Raid and trade. So start by raiding, flip them up. 1 gold, 2 gold, 3 gold, gold. I don't know if it's gold. Resources 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that was a total of 7. So that's going to take us up to 20. Boom. Now we're going to trade. Now a trade is a way to gain resources by importing Roman goods. So you have to find regions that have supply lines. At this point you have to decide whether a faction will agree to a supply line. Well, the ARDUENNA can actually get a supply line all the way through from Cisalpina through, what's this one? Sequani, ARDUENNA, and Bituriges. So these areas are all in supply. This area is in Roman control. However, we're doing this to benefit the Romans. So this time the Romans are going to say, yeah, you go for it. Trade away. We'll give you supply through our area. Not only does that help them in that they allow us to gain more money, they also will help themselves by allowing us to give them more money. So in supply lines, you add 1 ADUI resource, 2 if Roman agreed, for each ADUI ally and citadel, each subdued tribe under ADUI control, and if the Romans agreed, each Roman ally under ADUI control. So, let's start here. ADUI control, subdued tribe, 2 resources. ADUI controlled, doesn't matter, it's in a supply line anyway, and there's a citadel, not a citadel, a ally. 2. 2. Now this one is where it's going to become interesting, because there is no ADUI control here. So if we had control here, this Roman ally would also give us 2. But since we don't have a control, it's under Roman control, we can still gain the 2 resources from the Mandibuli, 1, 2, take us up to 28. But we can't gain for this. So that gained us a stack of resources that term, which we're now going to trade for protection with the Romans. So let's say we're on 28. We'll say to the Romans, we'll give you 10 resources if you keep protecting us from the Greens. And they agree to that. So the Romans will bump up to 10. The ADUI will bump down to 18. And that will end the trade and raid, or the raid and trade, of the ADUI. I love the ADUI. They're kind of like the, I don't know, if you ever play like a role-playing game, they're kind of like the rogues. They're not in your face, they're sneaky, they move around, they whisper in people's ears, they put poison in your wine when you're least expecting it. I really like them. I think they've got an interesting game mechanic. Okay. Moving on. I think I did all that right. Again, if I made mistakes, put them in the comments. Excuse me. Put them in the comments. And then, yeah, other people will learn from them too. But the main thing, to be honest, is if you make rule mistakes, it doesn't matter if you're enjoying the game. That's my take on it anyway. You're going to make mistakes. The thing is to make the mistakes, go back to the rulebook when you're in between games, skim it again, realize the mistakes you've made, and not make them the next time. These coin games are not play once and you've got it games. They require effort to you know, really become good at them and understand what's going on. Right. The Arverni are just going to stick in here. Their second faction event or a limited command. We're not worrying about the limited command right now, but we may play the event. That will give us another capability which will allow us to raid with 3 warbands and still resources despite. Having said that, do we really need that right now? We've got a lot of resources. We're not raiding that much. Maybe we'll play a limited command. It's a bit disappointing in these 6 cards that maybe 6 cards isn't enough. I haven't actually had a chance to really touch on all of the special abilities available. I'll make other videos that are specifically just tutorials, not tutorials, I don't want to say tutorials, examples of how I think these abilities work, just to show how they work for each of the factions. This was more of a gameplay video. So unfortunately we didn't devastate, we didn't get an ambush off, we haven't entreated for the Arverni, we haven't ambushed with haven't enlisted, we haven't rampaged. There's a lot of things that we haven't done, but in 6 cards, that's really, you know, possibly 3 turns each for each faction without passing. So it's not that long, but I don't want these videos to be so long that people get bored and stop watching. So stop talking is probably the best way to shorten them. So let's just do a limited command. Let's do a march. It's time to start teaching these damn ARDUENNA a thing or two. We're going to just give a limited march in here, and we're going to shift the crap out of these guys up into here. Hello. Goodbye ARDUENNA control. Hello RHENUS control. That'll cost us 1. And that will be the end of the 6th card. These will go back into here, and these will go back up here. Okay, so that was the Falling Sky learning video where I'm learning the moves with full no holds barred events, special abilities, passing, and hopefully I got enough of each one to show you how they work, how you can do the special abilities at the beginning, at the end, halfway through the command, and how you can use them to your advantage. What's up next? Depending on time and family commitments, probably hoping to try to make some specific videos. I'd like to do one video just purely on winter and the winter phase. I'd like to do one video on each of the individual factions, showing their actions and special abilities in a little bit more detail. That will help me to learn them as well. But I think we covered some important points with the capability cards and with not tactics, because like I say, I'm not really sure what I'm doing tactically, but maybe learning, maybe sometimes you want to pass so that you've got higher initiative on the next card that's coming up, or maybe you'd rather, you know, not have a limited command and so skip that to make sure that you get something a little bit more meaty when the next card comes out. It's all part of the fun of the game. The depth is incredible. Yeah, I could talk about it forever, but let's wrap up the video. Thank you very much if you watched. Thank you even more if you left a comment. I hope this helps a couple of people. I'm having fun making them because I'm learning, and talking to the camera is actually speaking out loud. The thought processes are becoming more apparent and obvious for me to pick up when I'm doing something wrong or when I'm just blundering through, making mistakes. But yeah, thank you very much for watching. I hope you'll come back again and watch in the future. See you next time.